The night before I was supposed to leave Compton, the air felt heavy, like the whole block knew I was trying to escape it. The streets were quiet but watching, the kind of silence that comes after too many sirens, too many funerals. I sat on the front steps of my mama's house, duffel bag at my feet, ticket to Oakland tucked in my back pocket, trying to convince myself that this time I was really gone. The streetlight across from me flickered, buzzing like it was fighting for life. I took a slow drag from my Newport, watching the smoke curl up into the night. Across the street, old man Reggie's pit bull barked once, deep and hollow, then went quiet again. You could almost hear the city breathing, the hum of a passing car, distant laughter, the echo of a gunshot too far away to make anyone flinch. That's just how it was here. Death wasn't drama anymore. It was background noise. I used to tell myself I was built for this, the gang, the hustle, the code. But deep down, I always knew it wasn't me. I'd seen too many bodies laid out on cracked pavement, too many mothers screaming into the dark, too many homies who started believing their own myths until the streets called in their dead. I didn't want to be one of them. I just wanted out. Mama came out to the porch, wrapping her robe tight around her. Her eyes were tired, but there was pride in them too, the kind that hurts to look at. "You sure about this, baby?" she asked, voice soft like a prayer. "Yeah, Ma. Bus leaves at 8. I'll be in Oakland by tomorrow night." She nodded slowly, staring out at the block like she didn't believe me, but wanted to. "Ain't nothing left here for you, anyway," she said. "Just make sure when you go, you stay gone." I smiled a little. "That's the plan." She leaned down, kissed my forehead, and went back inside. The screen door creaked shut behind her, leaving me alone again with the sound of the city. That's when I heard the car. A black Cutlass slid down the street, creeping slow, windows tinted too dark to see inside. My whole body stiffened. That's instinct. Years of surviving in a place where slow cars meant something bad was coming. The Cutlass rolled past, turned the corner, and disappeared. But the silence it left behind? That was worse. I told myself to chill. I wasn't in that life anymore. Not since I made the call to walk away from the set. It wasn't easy. You don't just quit the block. But after my boy Leon got dropped last summer, something in me broke. I kept seeing his blood on the pavement, hearing his voice in my head. That's when I decided I had to go. I took a job offer up north, packed a bag, and promised myself this would be my last night here. Only problem? The streets don't care about promises. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An old flip Nokia, screen cracked down the middle. It was a message from my little brother, Jamal. "Yo, come to Big E's. It's serious." My stomach dropped. Jamal was 17, still half a kid, but he'd been trying hard to fill the space I left behind. I told him to stay clear of the crew, focus on school, get out while he still could. But he was stubborn, like me when I was his age, and lately he'd been hanging with some wild young dudes who thought they had something to prove. I stared at the message for a long second. I could have ignored it. I should have. But blood's blood. If something was going down, I couldn't just let it happen. I grabbed my keys, left the bag by the door, and got in my old '89 Honda. The engine coughed before it caught, headlights cutting through the humid dark. The air smelled like gasoline and old dreams. Big E's was a liquor store off Rosecrans, the kind of spot everybody in Compton passed through at some point, for beer, blunts, or bad decisions. As I pulled up, I spotted Jamal out front with two of his friends. They were arguing with some dudes in a blue Impala parked across the street. My heart started pounding. I stepped out slow, keeping my distance. "Jamal," I called out. He turned, eyes wide like he wasn't expecting to see me. "What the hell are you doing here?" He glanced at his friends, then back at me. They disrespected Leon's name, he said, jaw tight, talking like he was weak. I sighed. "Man, forget that. You don't gotta prove nothing to nobody. Let it go." But the dude from the Impala, tall, light-skinned, gold chain shining in the streetlight, laughed and shouted, "Ain't nobody scared of Leon or his washed-up brother either." And just like that, it was on. Jamal lunged first. Fists flew, bottles broke, somebody screamed. I tried to grab him, pull him back, but one of the other dudes swung at me. I ducked, caught him in the ribs, shoved him off. The sound of glass shattering echoed like fireworks. Then, 2 gunshots. Pop, pop. The world froze. Everyone dropped. I turned. Jamal was on the ground, clutching his side, blood spilling fast between his fingers. Jamal. No, no, no. I dropped to my knees beside him. His eyes were wide, chest rising and falling in panic. I can't breathe, he gasped. Stay with me. Lil bro, stay with me. You hear me? Somebody shouted to call 911. Tires screeched. The Impala was gone. All I could hear was Jamal's breathing turning shallow, blood soaking my hands. My mind was spinning. I was supposed to leave tomorrow, start over. And now I was back where I started, holding another body on the concrete. The sirens came fast this time. Red and blue lights painted the liquor store like a crime scene from movie. Cops pushed me back, EMTs swarmed him, and I just stood there numb, staring at my brother disappearing inside an ambulance. When they pulled off, I could still smell the iron in the air. Detective Ramirez, I remembered him from back when Leon died, walked over, notebook in hand. You were here when it happened? Yeah, I said quietly. You see who did it? I hesitated. I did. The dude with the gold chain, I recognized him. His name was Smoke from 118th, an old rival set. But I wasn't about to tell Ramirez that. Not here. Not with the streets watching. No, I said finally. Didn't see nobody. He gave me a look like he knew I was lying, then scribbled something down. You still living over on Elm? Not for long, I muttered. Yeah, he said, shutting his notebook. You guys always say that. When I got back in the car, my hand was still shaking. I stared at the blood on my jeans, drying dark under the dashboard light. My phone buzzed again, unknown number. I answered. A voice came through, low and cold. Heard your little brother got hit. You know who did it. Click. Line dead. That was all it took. In one night, every plan I had, every piece of peace I tried to build, fell apart. I couldn't leave. Not now. Not with Jamal fighting for his life in County General. Not while the streets whispered my name like a dare. I drove through the city, headlights slicing through the fog, passing corners that felt haunted by ghosts. Every block had a memory, a laugh, a fight, a funeral. When I finally parked by the train tracks, I sat there for a long time, staring at the horizon. Somewhere out there, that bus to Oakland would be pulling away in the morning. But I already knew I wouldn't be on it. I lit another cigarette, watching the smoke curl up through the cracked window. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked older than it should have. Eyes hollow, jaw tight. You said you was done, I whispered to myself. So why you still here? No answer. Just the distant sound of a train whistle and the faint echo of sirens somewhere far behind me. The next morning, I drove to the hospital. Jamal was in critical, but alive. Tubes in his arm, machines beeping steady like a heartbeat fighting not to stop. Mama sat in the corner, Bible in her lap, lips moving in silent prayer. When she saw me, she didn't speak, just looked. I could feel the weight in her eyes, the same question she didn't have to ask. Why can't you ever leave this behind? I sat beside Jamal, held his hand. His skin felt cold. You hear me, lil bro? You gonna pull through? I said. But when you do, I swear, I'll make it right. That's when it hit me, that old fire in my chest. The one I'd been trying to kill. The one that always brought me back to the same place. I told myself I was doing it for him, for family, for justice. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just that. It was pride, and pride gets you killed out here. When I walked out of that hospital, I made the call. The one I swore I'd never make again. Yo, Tone, I said into the phone. It's me. I need to find somebody. Name Smoke from 118th. You got ears still on that side. Tone hesitated. I thought you was done, bro. I said, voice low. Now I ain't. Silence. Then I'll let you back. As I hung up, I knew the line I just crossed. There's no halfway in this life. You either all the way out or all the way in. And I just stepped right back in. The sun was setting behind the city, painting everything in that orange glow that makes Compton look almost peaceful if you squint hard enough. I stood there, watching it disappear behind the rooftops, thinking about all the people who tried to leave before me and never made it out alive. The bus to Oakland left at 8. I checked my watch, 8:17. Somewhere out there, a seat was sitting empty with my name on it. But I wasn't on it. I was right here, where I always been, on the block, waiting for the next move. And deep down, I think I already knew This was never going to be my last run. The next few days moved like a blur. Jamal was still in the hospital, half conscious, tubes in his arm, chest wrapped in white. Mama never left his side. I'd come in at night, sit for a while, then slip out before sunrise. Couldn't stand the way she looked at me, like she knew I brought this curse back into the house just by showing up. Outside the hospital, the streets kept moving. Always do. A couple days after the shooting, Tone hit me back. "Yo, I got something," he said over the phone. "Talk to me." Smoke been moving heavy over on 118th, pushing weight through a trap spot by the tracks. Word is, he flexing hard, bragging about how he handled business last week. I felt my jaw tighten. "You sure?" "Yeah. And listen, they say he got protection. Whole squad riding with him. If you go at him, it's gotta be clean." "Then we make it clean," I said. Tone paused. "You really backing this, huh?" "I ain't got no choice," I told him. "They came for my blood." He sighed. "Aight, meet me tonight at Manny's garage. We'll talk." When I hung up, I sat in the car for a long time, watching the hospital lights flicker in my rearview mirror. Every part of me wanted to drive away, disappear before the streets swallowed me again. But that voice in my head, the one that sounds like every funeral I ever been to, kept whispering, "You know how this ends." Yeah, I did, but knowing don't mean you stop. Manny's garage was off Central, tucked between an auto shop and an old liquor store that had been burned out since the riots. I pulled up just after midnight. The smell of oil and steel hit me as soon as I stepped inside. Tone was there, leaning against a stripped-down Chevy, smoke curling from his blunt. Two other cats I didn't recognize were working on something under the hood. "Look who the ghost dragged back," Tone said, smirking. "Good to see you too," I said, slapping his hand. He looked me up and down. "You lost weight. Oakland life got you soft already." I half smiled. "Ain't make it that far." We walked to the back, away from the others. He pulled out a map, laid it across a metal workbench. Lines, corners, routes drawn in red marker. "Smoke's trap house right here," he said, tapping the paper. "They run it out the back of a tire shop. 2 lookouts, 1 door, 1 exit. He rolls with at least 3 hitters at all times. If we hit him, it gotta be when he least expect it. Like when... tomorrow night. He always hits a dice game behind the shop around 9. They drink, get sloppy. You know the rest." I stared at the map, heart beating slow and heavy. It all came back too easy. The planning, the angles, the rhythm of violence disguised as logic. I didn't even have to think. I just remembered. Tone looked at me close. "You sure this about your brother?" "What you mean?" "I mean, you ain't been around in a minute, and now you back. Eyes full of fire. Just don't lie to yourself, bro. You ain't doing this just for him. You doing it 'cause this the only thing you ever knew how to do." I didn't answer. He was right, but I wasn't about to say it out loud. He handed me a small .38 wrapped in a rag. "You might need this." I took it, felt the weight in my palm, cold, familiar, like shaking hands with an old enemy. "I got it," I said. The next day, I went to see Jamal again. He was awake now, pale but breathing steady. When I walked in, he looked at me like he already knew. "Don't," he said, voice weak. "Don't what?" "You know what I mean. Don't go do nothing stupid." I pulled up a chair beside the bed. "They came for you, bro. They gotta pay for that." He shook his head slowly. "You think Leon wanted this for you? You think I do?" I looked down. His hand was trembling slightly, for tube shaking with it. "I can't just sit back," I said. "You can," he whispered. "You just won't." That cut deep. I stayed there a while, watching him drift in and out of sleep. When I finally left, I didn't look at Mama. Couldn't. That night, the air was thick with heat. Summer in Compton got a certain kind of pressure to it, like the whole city about to explode. Me and Tone rolled through in his old blue Caprice, windows halfway down, radio low. Every block looked the same. Flickering streetlights, stray dogs, boys on corners watching cars like hawks. We parked 2 blocks from the tire shop. The hum of traffic from the freeway filled the air. Somewhere nearby, music played low, a G-funk beat leaking from a party. Tone checked his piece, nodded. "You sure you good?" I took a deep breath. "Yeah, let's get it done." We moved through the alley, staying in the shadows. From behind the fence, we could hear laughter, dice hitting pavement, money flipping hands. Smoke's voice carried, loud, cocky, high off his own legend. Told y'all, can't no east side fool touch me. I run this block. My blood boiled. I peeked through a gap in the fence. Saw him sitting on a crate, gold chain glinting under a flickering bulb. He was surrounded by 3 of his boys, all armed but distracted, focused on the game. Tone whispered, "On my mark." But before he could move, my body went first. I kicked the gate open and stepped out, gun raised. Everything slowed down. The way they turned, the shock on Smoke's face, the dice rolling across the pavement like they were trying to get away too. "Remember me?" I said. He reached for his waistband. I fired first. The shot cracked through the night, echoing off the alley walls. Chaos erupted. One of his boys pulled out, Tone fired back. Smoke stumbled backward, clutching his chest, eyes wide with disbelief. "You shoot V, touched my brother," I said. He tried to speak, but blood filled his mouth. Then he dropped. It was over in seconds. But the sound, the ringing in my ears, the weight in my chest, it didn't fade. Not this time. Tone grabbed my arm. "We gotta move now." We ran. Tires screeched somewhere down the street. Sirens again, always sirens. We ditched the alley, cut through a backyard, hopped a fence. My lungs burned, legs heavy, adrenaline pounding like bass. We got back to the car, hearts still racing. Tone threw into gear. "You crazy as hell. You know that," he said, half laughing, half shook. "Yeah," I said quietly, staring out the window. "I know." We rode in silence for a while. The city blurred past, neon signs, boarded up houses, a couple kids playing under a busted hydrant like it was any other night. That's Compton. Life keeps going, no matter who dies. Tone dropped me off a few blocks from Mama's house. "You need to lay low for a while," he said. "I will." He looked at me hard. "Nah, for real. Word travels fast. Smoke had people. You just lit a fuse." I nodded. "Appreciate you, bro." He hesitated. Just don't let this drag you all the way back under." When he pulled off, I stood there in the dark, the weight of what I'd done settling in. Somewhere out there, a body was cooling on concrete. Somewhere else, a mother was about to get a call that would break her. I told myself it was justice, that I did what had to be done. But deep down, I knew it was something uglier, something that never really leaves you. The next morning, I woke up to banging on my door. Hard, urgent. I grabbed my shirt, opened it, Detective Ramirez. "Morning," he said flatly. "What's this about?" "You tell me," he said, stepping past me into the living room. "We got reports of shots fired near 118th last night. Guess who was seen in the area?" I stayed quiet. "You know, you got a real bad habit of showing up where people die," he said. "You got a real bad habit of bothering innocent men." I shot back. He smirked. "You think you still one of them ghosts from the block, huh? Let me tell you something. Ghosts don't last forever." He leaned in close. "If I find out you had anything to do with last night, I'm coming for you myself." He turned to leave. "And you might want to check on your mama. Somebody sprayed her fence this morning. 118th Killa." My stomach dropped. "What?" He looked over his shoulder. "Looks like your old life just found its way home." When I pulled up to Mama's place, the sight hit me like a punch. Red paint streaked across the white fence. Letters big and bold, still dripping. A warning. A promise. Mama was on the porch, arms crossed, eyes hard. "You bring this mess back here again," she said quietly. I tried to speak, but she cut me off. "Don't. Just don't. I told you the streets don't let go easy, but you didn't want to listen." I looked down, shame burning through me. "I was trying to protect us." "Protect us?" she snapped. "You think killing somebody makes us safe? You think Jamal gonna walk again 'cause you pull that trigger?" I couldn't look her in the eyes. She shook her head. "You ain't leaving this block. You just changed which grave you digging." Then she went inside, slamming the door behind her. I stood there, staring at the paint dripping down the wood, realizing how fast everything spiraled. Smoke was dead, but the war was just starting. His people were gonna come. Retaliation don't take long around here. I could feel the tension in the air, heavy as rain before a storm. I went inside, sat on the edge of my bed, and loaded the .38 again. The bus to Oakland had left 2 days ago. My ticket was still in my wallet, folded, untouched, useless now. My phone buzzed. Tone again. "They know," he said, words spreading fast. "You need to bounce." Too late for that, I said. They already hit my house. Shit. Aight, lay low. I'll see what I can find out. Don't. This mine now. He started to argue, but I hung up. Outside, thunder rumbled. Not real thunder, just the sound of engines and voices somewhere down the block. I peeked out the window, 2 cars creeping slow, windows tinted. My blood ran cold. The war was here. I turned off the light, sat in the dark, and waited. Every sound felt like the last one I'd hear. Footsteps, whispers, laughter that didn't belong. My whole body tense, heart steady like a drum line in my chest. And that's when I realized I wasn't running anymore. Whatever came next, I'd face it right here on this block. Because once you cross that line, there's no going back. For 3 nights straight, I barely slept. Every sound outside, Hemi reaching for the gun. Every car that slowed near the house made my chest tighten. Mama stopped talking to me. Jamal was still in the hospital, fading in and out of consciousness, but at least he was alive. That was the only thing keeping me grounded, the thought that maybe, somehow, I'd done something right. But the streets don't hand out happy endings. They just wait for you to breathe again before they take something else. On the 4th night, Tone came by. He looked worn, eyes red, jaw tight. "Smoke's people been moving," he said, pacing the living room. "Word is they out for blood. You hit one of their top dogs. They can't let that slide." "I figured," I said. "Who they got running it now?" "His cousin, Darnell. They call him D-Lo. Cold, quiet type. Used to move with Smoke, but meaner. Heard he already lined up a crew." I sat back, running my hand over my face. "Then we get him first." Tone froze. "Nah, you need to chill. This ain't the time to play hero. You already got a target on your back." I looked him in the eye. "Ain't about playing. It's about finishing what they started." He shook his head. "You sound like every fool we used to bury." I didn't answer. The silence between us said enough. Tone left soon after, shaking his head. "Just remember," he said before walking out, "when this all comes down, don't say nobody warned you." Later that night, I drove down Rosecrans, passing the old haunts, the liquor store, the corner park, the mural of dead homies that kept growing longer every year. The city looked the same, but I felt different. Maybe that's what time does. Makes the streets look smaller, meaner, like you've been looking at them too long. I parked near the train tracks, lit a cigarette, and let the smoke fill the air. That's when a black Monte Carlo pulled up slow behind me. 2 men stepped out. I didn't know their faces, but I didn't need to. I could read it in their eyes. Trouble. One of them spoke first. "You the one they call Jay, right?" "Leon's boy. Who's his skin?" D-Lo sent a message. He pulled his jacket back just enough to show the handle of a Glock. I raised my hand slightly. "That a message or a funeral invite?" He smirked. "Depends how good you listen." The other one stepped closer, eyes cold. "You killed family, homie. You know what that means." I didn't wait for him to finish. My body moved before my mind could. I ducked, grabbed the door handle, and slammed it open, caught the first one in the knee. Gunfire erupted, shattering glass, echoing across the tracks. I hit the ground, rolled, pulled my piece from my waistband, and fired twice. One of them dropped. The other ran. The world went still again. All I could hear was my heartbeat and the hiss of the busted radiator. The smell of smoke and metal filled the air. I stared at the body lying a few feet away. Young, couldn't be more than 20. His gun was still in his hand. I should have felt something, guilt, fear, anything. But all I felt was tired. I ditched the car and started walking. Headlights flashed somewhere behind me, but I didn't look back. Every step felt heavier, like the ground was pulling me in. The city wasn't letting me go. Not now, not ever. By morning, word had spread. Tone called, voice sharp. "Bro, what the hell you do last night?" "They came for me first," I said. "Don't matter. Now it's war. D-Lo lost a soldier. They're not gonna stop." "Then neither am I." He went quiet for a second. "You sound like Leon, man. You remember how that ended?" I didn't respond. He sighed. "You trying to die on this block too?" "I'm just trying to make sure they don't touch my family again." He hung up. I knew what that meant. Tone was out. Couldn't blame him. That evening, I went to check on Mama. The sun was low, sky orange like it was bleeding. When I walked in, the house was silent. Too silent. Her Bible sat open on the table, but she wasn't there. Then I heard movement from the back room. She was packing, folding clothes, filling a small suitcase. "What you doing?" I asked. She didn't look up. "We leaving." "Where?" "Somewhere you ain't," she said. "I called your uncle in Riverside. We staying with him till this all blow over." I stepped closer. "Ma, you can't just run." She turned on me, eyes wet with anger. "Run? Boy, running's the only thing keeping me alive. I done buried one son already. I ain't burying another." Her words hit harder than any bullet. I lower my head. "I'm sorry." "No, you ain't," she said. "If you was sorry, you'd stop." But I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when the city had my blood. Not when D-Lo was still breathing. That night, Tone showed up again. He didn't call first. Just knocked once and walked in. He looked nervous, checking over his shoulder like someone followed him. "We need to talk," he said. "What's up?" "I was at Manny's earlier. D-Lo's people were there before me. They asked about you." "About me? What did you tell them?" "Nothing. But I think they already know I was with you that night." So, they think I helped set up Smoke. Word on the street is there's a bounty, 10 grand for your head, 5 for mine." I froze. They put money on us. Yeah, and they serious. I already had 2 cars follow me home last night. We sat in silence. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound. Finally, Tone looked up. "You need to get out of town. For real this time." "I can't." "Why not?" "'Cause if I run, they'll come for my family. If I stay, maybe I can finish it." He rubbed his temples. "You don't get it, man. There is no finishing it. It just keeps spinning. You kill one, they kill 2. Then somebody kills you." I stared at him. "Then help me stop it." He laughed bitterly. "Stop it? The only thing you can stop is your own heartbeat." Then he stood. "I'm out, Jay. I can't do this no more." When he left, the house felt colder. I watched him drive off, tail lights fading into the night. That was the last piece of loyalty I had left. And now it was gone. A few hours later, I got a call from an unknown number. Static on the line, then a voice I didn't recognize. "You, Jay?" "Who's this?" "You should check on your boy, Tone." Click. My stomach sank. I grabbed my keys, jumped in the car, and drove toward his spot near Palmer Street. The whole ride, my mind was racing, hoping it was just a scare, a setup, anything but what I already felt in my gut. When I pulled up, red and blue lights flashed across the block. Cops everywhere. Yellow tape stretched across the front yard. My chest went hollow. Tone's body was slumped against the driver's seat of his Caprice, windows shattered. Blood dark against the leather. Eyes open. They got him. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. All I could do was stand there behind the tape, hidden in the shadows, watching them load my last friend into a bag. The crowd whispered. D-Lo's boys caught him slipping. Guess that's what happens when you roll with the wrong crew. I wanted to scream. Wanted to run in there and tear the whole city apart. But I couldn't even move. My hands were shaking, heart pounding so loud I could hear in my ears. Tone was dead because of me. I drove aimlessly for hours after that. Down streets I knew by heart, past places that used to mean something. Every corner felt haunted. Every shadow looked like someone aiming a gun. My reflection in the rear view looked like a stranger. By dawn, I ended up near the overpass on Compton Boulevard. The city was quiet, bathed in that early morning gray that makes everything look softer than it is. I parked, stepped out, and leaned on the hood, watching the sun crawl up behind the skyline. For the first time in a long time, I felt empty. Not angry, not scared, just hollow. Tone was gone. Mama and Jamal were gone. The crew was gone. All that was left was me and the ghosts. That's when I decided. If D-Lo wanted blood, he could have mine. But I was taking him with me. I spent the next day planning. D-Lo ran his business out of a stash house near Wilmington, old 2-story spot behind a laundromat. I'd been there once, years ago. 2 guards out front, 1 in the back. Windows barred, back door chained. It was suicide, but that didn't matter anymore. I loaded the gun, tucked it under my flannel, and stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes looked dead. Same face, different soul. As the sun went down, I got in the car and started driving. The city rolled by like a film I'd seen too many times. I passed the liquor store where Jamal got shot, the alley where Leon died, the mural with Tone's name already spray painted at the bottom. Every story on this block ended the same way. I was just riding mine a little slower. When I pulled up near the laundromat, I killed the lights and waited. 2 of D-Lo's boys were standing out front, smoking, laughing. I recognized one of them, the same kid who ran off that night by the tracks. My finger tightened on the trigger, but before I could move, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I answered. "You really think you gone walk into my spot and make it out?" the voice said. It was D-Lo. "How you get this number?" I asked. He laughed. "You forget who you dealing with? You kill my cousin. You think I wasn't gonna find you? You want me? I'm right here." "Oh, I know. I've been watching. You think you the hunter, but you the one being hunted." I froze, looked around. Then, headlights flared behind me. 2 cars boxed me in. Doors flew open. Shadows moved fast. I slammed the gear in reverse, but it was too late. Gunfire exploded, glass shattering, metal screaming. I ducked, heart pounding, bullets tearing through the seats. I kicked the door open, hit the pavement, and crawled behind a dumpster. Shots still flying. My gun was in my hand before I even realized it. I fired back, blind, desperate. Heard a scream, then silence. Tires screeched as one of the cars peeled off. I stayed low, chest heaving, smoke hanging thick in the air. The world went quiet again, just like always after the storm. Then I saw it, blood on my arm, not mine this time. One of D-Lo's men lay a few feet away, motionless. I should have felt something. Relief, maybe. But all I felt was the truth hitting me like a punch to the gut. There was no winning here. Just surviving a little longer than the next man. And I knew the next round was coming soon. The night after the shootout, I holed up in an abandoned apartment on 133rd, the kind of place where the walls whisper and the air smells like dust and ghosts. I wrapped my arm where the glass cut deep and sat by the window, staring out at the streetlights. Every time a car passed, my hand twitched toward the gun. Every shadow looked like payback. Compton never slept. It just waited. I thought about Tone, about Leon, about Jamal, lying in that hospital bed, hooked up to tubes like a puppet. And I thought about D-Lo, somewhere out there laughing, sitting on Smoke's throne like he earned it. That's when it hit me. I wasn't fighting for revenge anymore. I was fighting for peace. Problem was, peace don't live here. I tried to lay low the next few days. Didn't work. Word spread faster than the wind. Jay's still breathing. Jay smoked smoke. Jay at war with D-Lo. Every time I stepped outside, eyes followed me. Some looked scared. Some looked hungry. But all of them were watching. One afternoon, I stopped at the corner store. The clerk, old man Ricky, froze when I walked in. He'd known me since I was a kid. Used to give me free sodas in summer when me and Jamal were running around barefoot. Now he just stared like I was a ghost. "Boy," he said, voice trembling, "you need to get gone. Whole city talking. They say D-Lo put 10 bands on your head. That's money enough to make your own mama pull the trigger." I half smiled. Good thing she don't need the money. He didn't laugh. "Ain't no jokes left in this city, son." He was right. When I walked out, a black SUV slowed across the street. I didn't wait to see who was inside. Just turned the corner and disappeared into the alleys. My pulse wouldn't calm down for hours. It was like the whole block was breathing down my neck. That night, I drove to the hospital, snuck in through the back so no one would see me. Jamal was asleep, face pale, chest rising slow. Machines beeped like ticking clocks. I sat by his bed, my hoodie pulled low. "Lil bro," I whispered. "I'm gonna fix this, you just hold on." He didn't answer, of course, but I swore I saw his fingers twitch. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the bus ticket, the one to Oakland I never used. The paper was worn, edges soft from being folded so many times. I placed it on the table next to him. That was supposed to be my way out, but maybe it's yours now. I left before the nurses came in. I couldn't let them see me. Couldn't let D-Lo's people find out I was there. As I stepped into the parking lot, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered, and a voice I hadn't heard in years slid through the static. "Didn't think you'd last this long, Jay." It was Mackie. Used to run with me and Leon back in the day, before he flipped to Smoke's crew. "You working for D-Lo now?" I asked. "Nah, working with him. There's a difference. What you want?" He chuckled. "You, alive or dead, don't matter. But D-Lo prefer breathing. Says he got words for you." I didn't answer. "Come to the old car wash on Wilmington," he said. "Midnight. You don't show, we come find you." Click. My gut twisted. It was a setup, obviously. But part of me wanted to go. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the part of me that was tired of running. Either way, I decided I wasn't dying in no apartment. If I was going out, I was taking something with me. Midnight hit like a curse. The car wash was half dead, old neon sign flickering, water hoses hanging like veins. I parked a block away, crept through the shadows, Glock heavy in my hand. My heart was steady now. Cold. Inside, the hum of the city faded into silence. The ground was slick with oil and rainwater. Then I saw them. 3 figures by the vacuums, smoke from their blunts curling in the night air. Mackie was there. Same grin, same snake eyes. "Damn, Jake," he said when he saw me. "Didn't think you'd actually show. You called. I came." He laughed. Still loyal. "Shame it's to the wrong cause." I raised the gun. "Where's D-Lo?" He shrugged. "On his way." Wanted to see the man who turned his cousin into paint on the sidewalk. Before I could reply, I caught movement in my periphery. 2 more shadows creeping along the sidewalls. They thought they were slick. They weren't. I dropped low and fired first. The sound exploded through the night. 3 shots, 2 bodies down. Mackie dove behind a pillar, cursing. Bullets whined past my head, chipping concrete. The next few seconds were chaos. Flashes, screams, footsteps, then silence. I stepped forward, gun up, breath ragged. Mackie was on the ground, clutching his stomach, blood leaking through his fingers. "D-Lo, knew you'd come," he gasped. Said, "To tell you." He waiting at the old rec center. "Where?" "Same place y'all used to hoop before Leon got smoked." Then he smiled, teeth red. "Full circle, huh?" He stopped breathing after that. I stood there, the world spinning slow around me. The rec center. Of course. That's where it all started. That's where it had to end. I drove there with the windows down, wind in my face, sirens in the distance. The city was glowing, not the kind of glow you want. More like the reflection of fire off broken glass. When I pulled up, the parking lot was empty except for 1 car. A matte black Charger. Deluisha. He was standing out front, alone. Hoodie up, chain shining faint in the streetlight. "Didn't think you'd come," he said as I stepped out. "I don't run no more." He nodded. "Neither do I." For a second, we just stood there, 2 ghosts staring at each other, both carrying too many names in our heads. "You killed Smoke," he said. "He killed my brother." Wrong answer. Smoke ain't pull that trigger. That was some fool from Grape Street. Smoke was trying to make peace. My heart stuttered. "You lying? Believe what you want. You started a war over a mistake." For the first time in weeks, my hand trembled. "You think I'm supposed to feel bad for him?" "I think you're supposed to know the truth before you die." Then he pulled. The world exploded again. Flashes of light, thunder in my ears. I dove behind a pillar, returned fire. Bullets cracked through the walls, sent dust raining down. My leg burned, hot pain spreading fast. I kept shooting, 1 clip then another. When the smoke cleared, D-Lo was on the ground, blood soaking through his hoodie. He tried to lift his gun, but it slipped from his hand. I limped over, stood above him. "You said Smoke didn't do it," I said. He coughed, eyes fading. "He didn't. You just too blind to see." His last breath came out slow. Then nothing. The silence that followed was louder than any gunshot. I stood there for a long time, the smell of cordite thick in the air, rain beginning to fall. It felt like the city itself was watching, whispering, judging. And maybe it was right too, because the truth hit me all at once. All this death, all this blood, it was for nothing. Jamal got shot because of me. Tone died because of me. Leon died, trying to protect me. And now D-Lo was just another name on a mural. It drove till morning. Didn't know where I was going, just knew I couldn't stay. The city was still asleep when I pulled up near the train tracks again. Same place I'd been the night I first pulled the trigger. I parked, stepped out, and sat on the hood. The air was cold, quiet, heavy. I could hear the distant hum of traffic, the occasional bark of a dog, the low rumble of a train somewhere far away. For the first time in years, I let myself cry. Not loud, just tears sliding down my face, soft and bitter. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a photo, me, Jamal, and Tone at the rec center back in '92. We were smiling. No guns, no hate, just kids dreaming of something bigger than the block. I looked at it for a long time, then tucked it back in my pocket. The sun started to rise. Orange light cutting through the smog, painting the streets gold. It should have felt like hope. It didn't. A week later, I went to see Mama. She was still at Uncle's place in Riverside. When she opened the door, she just stared, like she couldn't decide if she was seeing her son or a ghost. "You look tired," she said softly. "I am." She made me sit, poured coffee, didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Mamas always know more than they say. After a while, I finally spoke. "It's over." She looked at me for a long time, then nodded. "Ain't never really over. Not till you forgive yourself." I didn't know how to do that. Before I left, she grabbed my hand. "Promise me one thing. Don't go back there." "I won't." I meant it. But we both knew promises like that don't always stick. That night, I drove back toward the city limits anyway. Not to stay, just to see. Compton looked smaller from a distance. The skyline faded into haze, the streets quiet, almost peaceful. I pulled over, got out, and walked to the edge of the bridge overlooking the block where it all began. Sirens echoed somewhere far away. The air smelled like rain. I thought about Leon's laugh, Tone's loyalty, Mama's prayers, Jamal's smile. All the pieces of me scattered across this city like ashes. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. Just empty. The kind of empty that feels like freedom. Maybe that's what peace really is. Not happiness. Not forgiveness. Just silence after all the noise. I turned to leave, but something stopped me. A sound, faint, almost drowned by the wind. It was the train, rolling slow across the tracks below. The same one I'd watched so many nights. I stood there, watching it fade into the distance, its lights blinking through the fog like a heartbeat. And I realized I didn't have to die to leave. I just had to stop looking back. That's how it ended. Not with a bang, not with a bullet, but with me finally walking away from the block that raised me and buried everyone I loved. They can keep their streets, their colors, their crowns. All I wanted now was quiet. And as I walked toward the dawn, leaving the city behind, I whispered one last thing to the wind. "For you, Leon. For you, Tone. For you, Lil Bro. I'm done." The first thing I remember about that morning was the silence. Not the kind that comes before violence, the other kind. The kind you get after the storm's done tearing everything apart. I'd been gone for 2 months. Oakland wasn't what I pictured, but it was enough. I got a small job at a mechanic shop off 82nd Avenue. Dirty hands, quiet hours, cash under the table. Nobody knew my name. Nobody cared. That was peace in its own way. But every night, when I closed my eyes, I still heard the echo of those streets back home. The sirens, the gunshots, the laughter between them. The ghosts don't let go easy. They wait until the world gets quiet, then they whisper. One morning, I got a call from Mama. Her voice sounded older, softer somehow. "Jamal's awake," she said. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then I grabbed my keys and started driving south. The highway to Compton felt different this time. The billboards were the same, the cracked asphalt, the heat waves rising from the hood. But I wasn't the same man who left. I traded anger for something heavier, guilt. By the time I pulled up to County General, my hands were shaking. I walked through the sliding doors, every step slower than the last. The nurse recognized me, but didn't say nothing, just pointed toward room 314. When I pushed the door open, Jamal was sitting up in bed, head wrapped, eyes half open but alive. He looked thinner, older, like he'd seen the things I spent my whole life trying to keep him from. "Yo," he said, voice raspy. "Yo," I replied. For a minute, neither of us said a word. Just silence between brothers who'd already said everything without talking. Then he looked at me and smiled, small, tired. "You look different." "Guess I am." He nodded. "Heard you handled it." I froze. "Handled what?" He smirked, eyes full of something between pain and pride. "Word gets around." I sighed. "Don't believe half of what you hear." He chuckled weakly. "That's what Leon used to say." Hearing his name hit me like a punch. I sat down beside him. "I messed up, Jamal," I said. "Thought I was fixing things. Thought I was protecting you. But all I did was keep the same damn cycle going." He looked at me, quiet for a long time. Then, "Maybe, but you still came back." "Yeah," I said. "Always do." I stayed with him for a few days. Took him outside when the doctors allowed, wheeling him down to the courtyard so he could feel the sun again. We didn't talk much about the past. We didn't have to. Every scar said enough. One afternoon, Mama joined us. She sat between us, Bible in her lap, smile soft but sad. "You boys been fighting your whole lives," she said. "Maybe now you can start living." I wanted to believe her, but part of me still wondered if I even knew how. After Jamal was discharged, we drove through the old neighborhood together. The block was quieter now. Some faces gone, new ones in their place. Fresh graffiti on the walls. Another mural, this one for D-Lo. I parked across the street from the liquor store where it all started. Ricky had replaced the glass, patched the bullet holes, kept the same faded sign. He waved when he saw us. Didn't say nothing, just nodded. That nod meant everything. We stood there for a while, watching the corner that almost ended both our lives. "You ever think about leaving again?" Jamal asked. "Every day." "So why don't you?" I shrugged. "Because if everybody leaves, nothing changes." He nodded like he understood, though I wasn't sure I did myself. Weeks passed. I found work at a local garage. Jamal started helping at the community center, the same one where Leon used to coach kids before he died. Life didn't turn perfect overnight. Bills still stacked, cops still rolled slow, the streets still whispered. But we were breathing. And after everything, that felt like a blessing. Some nights, I'd sit on the porch with Mama, coffee in hand, listening to the city hum. "Still thinking about the past?" she'd ask. "Always." She smiled. "That's all right. Just don't live there." One Friday evening, I drove alone to the rec center. It had been rebuilt after the shootout. Fresh paint, new hoops, same smell of old wood and sweat. Kids were running drills, sneakers squeaking on the floor. Coach saw me standing by the door and waved me over. "Need a hand?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I got time." He tossed me a whistle. "Then make it count." That night, I ran the drills, yelling plays, correcting shots, showing them how to pivot, how to move. They listened. They laughed. And for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt since before everything went wrong. Purpose. As the gym lights dimmed, one of the kids, little dude, maybe 10 years old, came up and asked, "Coach Jay, you used to play here?" "Yeah," I said, smiling. "A long time ago." "You good?" he asked. I laughed. I was all right. He grinned, nodded, and ran off. That small moment, it hit harder than any gun ever did. Later that night, I sat in my car outside the gym, windows down, cool air flowing in. The city lights flickered like a heartbeat. I thought about all the people who didn't get to see this: Leon, Tone, Smoke, even D-Lo. We were all just products of a system that never wanted us to grow old. I whispered into the night, I made it out for all of us. And maybe, just maybe, they heard me. A few months later, Jamal started college classes. Community college, nothing fancy, but it was something. He wanted to study social work, help kids who grew up like us. Mama cried when he told her. I just smiled. Guess one of us finally broke the curse. He laughed. "Nah, bro, you did." But I wasn't sure. Maybe all I did was survive long enough for him to get a chance. And maybe that's all I was ever meant to do. One night, I took that old bus ticket, the one to Oakland, and walked to the backyard. The paper was yellowed now, edges frayed. I held it over the fire pit, watched the flames catch. The smoke rose slow, twisting into the air like a spirit set free. I didn't feel regret. I just felt done. "Goodbye," I said softly, watching it turn to ash. Weeks later, I was back at the shop, grease on my hands, radio playing old Tupac tracks through static. The sun was setting over the city, golden light spilling across cracked asphalt. I wiped my hands, stepped outside, and just stood there watching. For once, Compton looked almost beautiful. Not perfect, not peaceful, but alive. And maybe that's all any of us ever wanted, to still be standing when the smoke clears. I reached into my pocket, pulled out Leon's old cross chain, the one I'd kept all these years. I put it on and whispered, "We good now, bro. We good." Then I turned toward the garage, ready to keep working. The block would always be part of me, but it didn't know me anymore. That night, before heading home, I stopped by the mural wall, the one covered with faces of everyone we lost. Leon, Tone, D-Lo, Smoke, all of them staring out from the bricks like they were watching over the city. I added one last name in white paint, Peace. Not a person, just a word. Then I stood back, wiped my hands on my jeans, and smiled. "Finally," I said, We all got something we never had. And for the first time in forever, I'm in it.